Are we live? I think we are. And right as we go live, a very noisy sports car is driving by outside. Well, that could be a good thing, or maybe not. Who knows? Well, anyway, welcome to today's live class. My name is Luke. I am a teacher from the United States, and today we will be talking about many things. I have 4 topics that I want to talk about today that we have prepared for today. But we'll also be going through some other interesting stuff to, I think, stick around for. Also, whoever is joining us today will be able to ask questions, and I will answer those questions. Before we get started, I would like to just mention that if you haven't already, I would appreciate if you could hit the like button if you like these live classes. And if you don't, well, then don't hit the like button. If you want to see future videos that I put out or future live classes, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Very important. And also check out my courses in the links in the description. I am doing a sale right now on all of my courses, so you can check that out. There's, in the last live class we did, a coupon there, but for those of you watching this far into the future, well, too bad you missed out. Although Udemy does regular sales as well, depending on the date. So today we're going to be talking about some English greetings and how to also say goodbye. We'll be talking about a few of those things. We'll be going over different ways to describe likes and dislikes. I know that sounds very simple and very basic, but there are probably more ways than you might imagine that you can say you like and dislike something. We're going to be getting into exaggeration, which is a very important part of American English especially. Exaggeration, very important. And then we'll talk about some other stuff. All right, so that's it. Now, for those of you who are watching with us today, questions are welcome. Questions about culture, pronunciation, grammar. I'll do my best to answer those questions. Phrases, idioms, words, learning methods, baking recipes, dinosaurs, philosophy, and macaroni and cheese. Whatever you want to ask about, it is totally fine. Okay, so why don't we just get started? Okay, I can't talk. I'll have a sip of coffee, and then we'll get started with our first topic. Welcome, people who are here already. Great, fantastic, wonderful. Are we live? I'm gonna just double check, make sure that we are live and good to go. Yes, we are. All right. Cool beans. So, all right, Sleepwalker's here. You know when Sleepwalker's here that it's really time to start. That's how you know. That's the key. That's what you need. When Sleepwalker's here, nothing else is needed. Okay, so I'm going to run the intro and then have another sip of coffee. And then, friends, neighbors, citizens of the world, we're going to get started. Okay? Intro time. Time for the intro. Nice intro. I like that intro. I like it a lot. Very good. Okay, so time to get started. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about in today's class is different ways that we say hello, but in particular, how we say hello in the morning and in the evening, how we say goodbye in the evening as well. Because a lot of people get confused, I think, about the question of, does good evening mean hello? Or does good evening mean goodbye? Can I say good night to mean hello? Can good morning ever be goodbye? I feel that there's a lot of confusion on this point, and I want to talk about it a bit. Okay, so let's talk about it. Now, this is a common question that comes up. When I say good evening, do I mean only hello? Can I also mean bye? When I say good night, can I mean hello? Does it only mean goodbye? It's a very good question. Very interesting question. And actually, there's a pretty simple answer, okay? So we're going to go through the simple answers, very easy answers at the beginning here. But then we'll talk about some of the variations of this, some other things that we can do, some of the ways that we can say hello and goodbye that are maybe slightly more nuanced, which means it depends on the situation that you're in. All right? So let's start. Why don't we start with this one? When you say good morning, if you say it, you always mean hello. Someone says, hey, you might say, oh, good morning, good morning. It always means hello. That's what it means. Pretty simple. When you're leaving, you don't say, okay, good morning, bye. No, never. So whenever you say good morning to someone, you're going to mean hello, hello. Now, if you want to describe it, you could say, oh, what a good morning this is. But that's part of a larger phrase. So generally speaking, it really just has that one meaning. And it's the same if you say good afternoon. If you say good afternoon, of course you can say, oh, it's a good afternoon, of course. But when you say it like this, just as a thing to say by itself, a phrase by itself, it only means hello. That's what it means, okay? Pretty simple. So we have good morning, which means hello, not goodbye, never goodbye. We have good afternoon, which means only hello, never goodbye. And we have good night, and we have, oh, where's my good evening? Where's my good evening? Where's my good evening? Good morning. Good afternoon. Okay, I guess I don't have one. Sorry about that. Good evening also means hello, okay? So when you see good evening also always means hello. Always. Someone says good evening, it means hi there, hello, hey there, good evening. Very common. Good night is always goodbye. So remember this, never say good night to say hello. If you say good night, it means I'm leaving now, see you next time. Okay, that's what it means. Maybe see you later, take care. We'll go through some other variations of that. But it doesn't mean anything else, to be clear. You cannot say good night to someone. Now you might say, oh yes, but what if I arrive at the party at 10 p.m.? That's not evening. Evening is like 6 p.m., 7 p.m., right? It can't be evening if I'm there at 10. What if I arrive at 10 and I want to say hello? It is night, so shouldn't I say good night? No, you shouldn't. You can still say, hey there. You can say hi. You can say good evening. Even though technically it's not evening anymore in the way that we normally think of it, you can say good evening in this way, okay? But when you leave the party, when you're going home, you should say, all right, everybody, have a good night. Take care. Good night. Good night. Now, have a good night could mean goodbye, but it could also mean sort of a good wish, a well wish to you, right? But good night by itself generally means goodbye. Now, we have a few variations here, a few other phrases that we can use when we want to say hello and goodbye. So let's talk about the ones we use for hello first. Hi, hey there, evening, morning, afternoon, howdy, what's up, and good to see you. Now, these all have a different sort of flavor to them. So it's important to know the context that they're used in, the connotation, the feeling that they provide, that they give when you say them. Okay, so let's go through these. Hi is obviously the most basic greeting. It can be used in so many different situations. Hi is just what you say when you see someone, often someone that you know, but it doesn't have to be. When you talk to someone on the phone, we'll usually say hello instead of hi, but hi is okay. If you've been emailing with someone back and forth, you can say hi and then their name. That's okay too. That's okay too. Now, what about hey there? If you say hey there, that's generally going to be more casual. Hey there, hey there, hey there. You could say it with someone you don't know, but it's not in a formal situation. When you walk up to the counter to ask for something seriously, you don't say, hey there. You might say, hi, hello. I wonder if you could help me with something. Blah, 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 blah. So only use hey there in generally more casual situations, okay? Evening and morning are the same as good evening and morning. It's just more casual, feels more relaxed. Hey, oh, evening, morning, afternoon. You could also say afternoon, that's fine too. So evening, morning, afternoon by themselves can be greetings. You don't have to have good. What can I say? Great afternoon? Great afternoon. No, that's weird. You either say good afternoon, good evening, good morning, or afternoon, evening, morning, like that. If you want to say it in a more friendly way, you say morning, morning. Sounds very friendly, right? It's a great way to say hello. Okay, now what about howdy? Now, howdy is something that I generally don't say. This is something that's typically sort of regarded as Southern Texas sort of casual, informal greetings sort of thing. I don't use it that much. Now, I might use it once in a while just to be sort of funny and be goofy, but a lot of people maybe in Texas will still say howdy. It's kind of older. It's kind of considered more of a Texas thing. I don't know if people still say it there, probably not. But if you've seen Toy Story, Woody always says howdy, 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 because he's a cowboy, right? He's a toy cowboy. Okay, so you'll hear that sometimes in movies. I'm not necessarily recommending that you say howdy. Okay, now what about the last two? What's up and good to see you? What's up? Good to see you. Now, for what's up and good to see you, what's up is sort of one of those questions that you say it as a question, but it's really meant as a greeting, and there's a quick answer, but it's more like a, oh, hey, like that, sort of a head nod sort of thing. Hey, what's up? Oh, not much. Hey, what's up? Oh, I'm just doing a little work. Okay, see you later. Oh, hey, what's up? Oh, not much. You? Nothing much. Just going to get some coffee. All right, see you later. Two colleagues passing in the workplace. Someone who is picking up the phone from their friend. People who know each other, who haven't seen each other in a while, or people who saw each other yesterday. What are you doing right now is the basic meaning, or it could be simply a greeting, and the natural reply there is nothing, not much, or I'm not really doing anything, maybe. But usually it's nothing and not much, okay? That is typically how that's used. Good to see you is more of a warm and friendly thing. Obviously, you won't say that unless you're talking to a friend. You won't say that unless you're talking to a family member, someone you know very well. So don't use that one unless you feel really comfortable with that person. All right, so those are some of the common greetings. Now, what about farewells? Can we say farewell? Farewell is so formal, all right? Super duper formal. So I recommend never saying farewell. A farewell is a noun, which is a goodbye, basically. That's what it means. Okay, so a couple of examples. If we're saying goodbye and it's nighttime, we might say good night, or we can say night, night. Sometimes you'll hear people say good night, good night, good night. See ya, very casual. See ya, see ya. My aunt always says, see ya, see ya, see ya. It means see you, right? That's what it means. But it's shortened and made more casual. So that one's casual, very casual. Night is pretty casual, usually when you're with friends. Later and bye. Now, later is somewhat casual. Often people use it with friends. I say it to my friends, later, okay, later. Or bye, but bye can be used in many more situations. You would say on a phone call, on a very important business phone call, all right, goodbye, or bye, or talk to you next time, something like that. You wouldn't say later. It's too casual. It sounds weird. All right, so don't do that one. Now, if it's nighttime and you're on the phone, you could say, I guess, well, good night. That almost sounds a little too romantic or something. So I recommend just saying goodbye if you're on the phone. Now, how about take care, have a good one, have fun, and peace? Now, take care is a great way when you've met anybody, not only with friends, but just people that you meet and you're saying goodbye, maybe after a conversation. We can say, all right, take care. If you met a friend, you had a business lunch, you are maybe with an old classmate having coffee, whatever it is, okay, take care, see you next time, see you soon. Often, one I didn't mention here, stay in touch. Stay in touch. That's just a sort of wish that we will continue to talk going forward. So, very common one, take care, and have a good one. Have a good one is both casual and more formal. You'll hear customer service people say, all right, have a good one, goodbye, something like that. Have a good one is fine for formal situations, less formal situations. It's just a wish that everything goes well. So that one's pretty good. Have fun is only when you know what someone is going to do. If you say, oh, I'm gonna go ice skating with my girlfriend, or I'm going to an amusement park tomorrow, or oh yeah, we have a party tomorrow, or I'm gonna go watch a movie later. All right, well then we'll say we will say, have fun. So again, we only use that one when we know what the other person is going to do. If we don't know what the other person is going to do, we probably won't say have fun. It's not formal, it's not informal, it's neutral. But we have to know something. We have to know what the other person will do. Now, peace is a more modern one. I guess that's more for young people, let's say. Yeah, I don't really use this one that much, but a lot of people in my generation and younger will say peace when they want to say goodbye. All right, peace. See ya, peace. I don't really use it that much, but a lot of people do. If you ever watch the videos by YouTuber MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee, he always ends his videos with peace. He says peace, and he even does the peace sign, and then he ends his videos. That's how he likes to end them. It's his friendly, nice way of saying goodbye. It's a very generational thing. He's a bit younger than me. I think he's about 10 years younger than me, so it makes sense. All right, so those are the ways that we say hello. Those are the ways we say goodbye. Very common, all of them very common. Of course, there are more, but these are the ones that most people use most of the time. Hopefully that's useful. All right, make sure if you haven't already that you subscribe. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Please, that really helps out. I really appreciate it. And also, don't forget to check out my courses in the links in the description. Okay. Oh, I see we have some people here. That's good. Let me stretch my back a little bit. Oh, did you hear that cracking sound? My God. Feels good. Let's see if I missed any questions here. Sleepwalker says, Luke, did you... yeah, thanks for hitting the like button, guys. I really appreciate it. Hitting the like button basically says to others, hey, there's a live stream. It's happening now. Join. And then YouTube says, oh, okay, yeah. All right, we'll let people know. Pocket Soap says, long time no see. Yeah, perhaps. You might be right about that. Luke, did you take any habits or traditions from Chinese culture because of your wife? Hey, that's a good question. So, as many of you know, I am married to a Chinese lady. I got married in China. So my parents-in-law are Chinese. And I lived in China for 5 years. Yeah, 5 years totally I've lived in China. Maybe a little bit more. So that's quite a bit of my life. And the question is, have I picked anything up? Have I taken on any Chinese culture onto myself? And I think the answer is yes. I think I've definitely been changed in a way by Chinese culture. Now, some things are more traditions or things that I like or preferences. Now, the preference might be something like eating etiquette. So, for example, the way that people in the West and especially Americans like to eat is, I have my food, mine. I have my plate with my food on it. That's what I have. Which is fine, right? You have your own food. That definitely is good. But in other cultures around the world, Japanese has it to some extent, but China especially, the idea of sharing food is really important. In other words, it's respectful if you're eating with a group of people, if you're sitting, for example, around a circular table, which is another thing that's common in China, that you will give someone a piece of food, put it on their plate perhaps, and they will take that. They will accept it. If someone gives you a piece of food, you can't say, oh, no, don't give me that. That's not nice. So there's some etiquette there that's important. I don't know if I picked up the etiquette so much, but the overall sort of community feeling of sharing hot pot, for example, sharing food that's in the center of the table and maybe having just a little plate for myself makes the experience much more interactive. It makes it feel like it's not only my own thing that I have here, it's something that I'm part of with others. We're sharing this thing together. This thing is in the middle. We're all taking from the middle. Now, that has changed somewhat as Western food has become maybe more popular. In China, I suppose it's changed a bit. But generally speaking, this is a tradition, and it's one that I personally like better, I think, than my own Western tradition of having my own food on my own plate. Leave me alone. When I want more, I'll get some. Don't ask me. So this sort of concern for others who are eating around you, this is something that I find very interesting and something that I certainly picked up from from Chinese culture. Another thing, frankly, is the element of modesty. Now, that doesn't mean that Americans don't understand modesty. I think a lot of Americans do understand modesty. But sometimes there is an emphasis or a focus on, how can I say it? Let's say overconfidence at times. Not all, of course, there are many Americans who are very shy and very timid. That's a stereotype. That's not true across the board, but it is true in many cases. All right. Now, I'm quite a confident person, and sometimes that confidence can come across as, in some situations, maybe a bit arrogant. In some situations, maybe overconfident. In some situations, it might make others feel uncomfortable or not want to say something. And as I've, really lived in China and experienced China and this sort of Chinese virtue of modesty, which is, yeah, maybe I am good at something, or maybe I feel that I am good at something, but I don't need to display it all the time and show it to others all the time, right? This can be a very good thing because it makes others comfortable. It makes others feel like you are recognizing them. It just improves I find the relationship among the group if it's not about the ego of one person. And I'm not saying I'm a crazy egomaniac necessarily, but the focus on empathy in China is definitely something that has rubbed off on me, I think in a positive way. And I've generally tried to learn that sense of modesty that I didn't have as much before. Again, not that I was necessarily an arrogant, self-centered person completely, but I definitely learned some sort of sense of behaving in a modest way and the effect that that has on people around me, noticing how other people are acting. Now, that doesn't mean that I've picked up everything from Chinese culture. There are deeper ideas like the idea of face, 面子, and also of this thing that's sort of a version of social connections, which is much more complicated, right? That's called 关系, and it's very complicated, and I don't fully understand it. And what I do understand of it doesn't make me super comfortable. The idea of needing certain relationships in order to gain power and influence, and obviously that's true everywhere, but it's really an emphasis in Chinese culture. Not my favorite thing. So there are things I picked up, things I didn't pick up, and some things I don't even know about that I'm still learning. I mean, obviously it's a very old culture, and I don't know everything about it because I only lived there for a few years. But the more I learn, the more I find it very interesting. And it has definitely had an impact on me. And I've really enjoyed living in China. And if you guys who are watching this haven't been to China, then you should definitely go. Maybe not right now, but at some point, go. Because it's a very interesting place, for sure. Especially, maybe Shanghai, Chongqing, and Beijing. Very interesting places. A lot of cities are interesting. I lived in Tianjin for 2 years. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, that's the answer. How do you pronounce region and reason? That's a good question. So region is a j sound, and reason is a z sound. So just be careful about the j and the z. Region. J, region, reason, zun, z sound. You can hear the difference, right? Z, j. Otherwise, they are the same. They're the same otherwise. Re, un. The only difference is the j and the z. The j and the z, the j and the z. That's the only difference. Guys, I would also, again, appreciate those of you who have joined. If you could hit the like button, that would be awesome. I would appreciate it. Dinesh is here. Wael is here from Tunisia. Awesome. Luke, I got a job here in India. I work as a customer support. I'm grateful if you could tell me how to use suggest and suggestions and advise and urge and so on. Oh, don't say on and so on, because if you say and so on, then what does that mean? Okay, because there are so many possible and so ons. We could talk about those for an hour. So, let's say suggest and suggestion, advise and urge. Suggest, suggestion, advise, and urge. Suggest, suggestion, advise, and urge. All right. Let me think for a second about that one. Suggest, suggestion, advise, and urge. Well, yeah, when it comes to customer service English, the thing to remember is to be clear and to use phrases that are slightly less direct, generally, to make the person who you're explaining something to feel comfortable. Okay, so if you say to someone, I urge you to do this, I urge you to do this, or I'd like to urge you to do something, it feels that you're poking them with your finger. And that might be uncomfortable. If you say, I need you to do this, I need you to I need you to open this and do that, whatever it may be. Customer service is very broad. That feels like poking. If you say without please, if you just say, open this letter and tell me the code in whatever situation, that feels like a poke. That feels like I'm pushing you to do something. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like a command. So that's not so good, generally speaking, for customer service English. Now, there are more casual ways to say things. There are also more or less direct ways to say things. More or less direct? More or less direct, just less direct. There are less direct ways to say things. This is often good. Now, one basic way to do this is just to say please. Please push this button. Please open that. Please tell me. Or, even better, could you please? Could you please tell me that Or, could you tell me If you don't have please, at least have could there. That's fine. You could have please or could or both. Okay. Now, would you mind is a way to put it in terms of a question. Would you mind giving me the number on the back of the monitor? Would you mind telling me whatever it is? Would you mind is a great way to ask a question, to get information, to confirm something, to get something back from whoever you're talking to. This is not only useful in customer service situations, this is useful whenever you're requesting information, you need somebody to tell you something, and you don't want it to seem like you're hitting them over the head with a book or you're poking them with a stick. You want to avoid that. So you say, please, could you please, would you mind? These are fine. These are fine. Now, what about suggest and suggestion? Okay. Let me make a suggestion. Let me make a suggestion. So if we say suggestion, we have to be careful to put it in the right frame. If we say, my suggestion is to do this. My suggestion. It's all right. It's very clear. It can't be misunderstood, but it might feel sometimes a bit indirect. Notice I'm saying might, bit. These words also make things sound less direct, okay? So be careful with that one. My suggestion. But if you say, I would suggest, that sounds much softer. I would suggest that you call back tomorrow. I would suggest. Or, let me suggest that you call back tomorrow. Or, may I suggest that you call back tomorrow. Let me suggest. May I suggest. I'd like to suggest. All of these are fine. All of these are very good. All of these are natural, polite, and notice that they're a little bit longer. That's a common trend or theme in formal customer service request English. When we are asking something, we might add a bit to it, and often could and may and might and let me, rather than just my suggestion. Do this. Sounds like you're poking someone with a stick. Feels a little too straight. We don't want that. Okay. So that's the basic idea. Now, what about suggest as a verb? Okay. I suggest. Is that fine? Is it okay to say I suggest? Yes, I think that's okay. I suggest calling back tomorrow when we're a little bit less busy. I suggest. That sounds polite even though it's short. Okay, because it's a verb, it's a simple action. You're not giving a command. Suggest by itself, the meaning of the word suggest is sort of a relaxed thing. It's not like saying, I insist that you call back tomorrow. I urge you to call back tomorrow. Those two don't sound good, but suggest naturally is kind of an indirect word. It's giving someone something like, oh, you want this? You can have it if you want it, but you don't have to take it. So it feels pretty good. It feels pretty natural. Now, the last one, what about advise? Someone says, I advise you to call back. I would say instead of saying, I advise you, which is okay, it's fine, I would recommend saying, I would advise you. I would advise you to call back tomorrow when our office is a little less busy, and then we should be able to spend more time helping you with this issue. I would advise. I would recommend. You could say, I would suggest. That is much better. Now, you can shorten that to I'd advise, and it sounds direct, but it also sounds polite. It's indirect enough to not feel like you're poking the customer or whoever you're talking to with a stick, which is important, right? That's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid that feeling that we're poking someone with a stick. So all of these ways are pretty polite ways to express what you want to express. Note that when we want to say things a little more politely, we often use a bit. We're a bit busy in the office today, instead of we're busy in the office. We're very busy today. We can't talk to you. Today we're a bit busy. We're a bit behind schedule. I would advise you to call back tomorrow, and I think we should be able to help you out. Okay, a bit is a great phrase to use when you want to make something sound softer. So hopefully that is useful. And if you haven't already, guys, again, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe and check out my courses in the links in the description. And subscribe, even though I already said that. Subscribe. All right. Does that answer your question, Dinesh? I hope so. I hope that answers your question. Where can I use the word and so on? Yeah, it's just when you're making a list. You would say it's the same as etc. You say etc. period, etc. It's the same as and so on. Thanks for hitting the like button, guys. I appreciate that. Thanks a million. Oh, you know what? I don't think I shared this to Facebook. Can you guys give me a second? I want to share this to Facebook because I didn't do it. Give me a second. Just give me 1 second. I hope that answers your question to your satisfaction, Dinesh. Okay, I'll answer your question in a second too, Raymond. That's a good one. I'm just quickly sharing the stream to Facebook because I forgot to do that. By the way, you guys are welcome to follow the Facebook group. Or you can join the group. Join the group. It's in the link in the description. At the bottom, there is a Cloud English group, and you can request to join. Okay. All right. Shared. Success. Great. Yeah, guys, I would appreciate it if you could share the live stream as well. Let your friends know that there's a live stream going on. Why not? They can ask their questions too. Okay, so yes, and so on is just when you're making a list. We need to get cans of soup. We need to get supplies. We need to get milk. We need to get toilet paper, and so on, and so on. All right, we're just making a list. That's what it means. That's how it's used. We don't want to list everything. Maybe there are 100 things there, so we don't want to say everything. We use and so on to just say, and there's more stuff too. Oh yeah, there's more stuff too. Now, the more formal way to say that is etc. etc. One of the common mispronounced words is etc. because a lot of people, including native English speakers, say etc. etc. Drives me crazy. It's not etc. It's etc. etc. Not etc. Okay. How to use whom. By the way, when you ask a question, instead of saying how to use, say how can I use? How can I use? Instead of how to use. That's a good question. That's a good question. So the word whom is basically the object, related to the object of the sentence, not the subject, right? Who did this? Who did this? Who did this? Well, if we say who did this, that's going to be a person, right? And we're going to be talking about the person who did the action, did this, whatever this is, right? Maybe there's some blue paint on the wall, and a mother has 6 children, and she wants to know which child did this, right? Right? All right. And there are 6 of them here, and she says, who did this? Timmy? Tommy? Tammy? Tommy? Whatever their names are. Doomy? Whatever their names are. Who did this? Which person? Okay? The subject is who. Now, whom is related to the object, the receiver of the sentence. So the subject is the one that does the action. The object is the one that gets the action, receives the action, or maybe the purpose of the action is that person. So we might say, for whom? For whom? Now, I want to be clear, though. Correctly, grammatically, we'll say for whom. For whom did you do this? Or you did this for whom sometimes. That is technically grammatically correct, but a lot of people don't say it, even though it's grammatically correct. Instead of saying for whom, we'll say for who. I got this gift. I bought this. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? For whom? Most people will say, for who? For who? Who did you get it for? Who did you get it for? Okay, so a lot of the time, even when whom, which is the object of the action related to the subject does the action, we should use whom, but we don't use whom. And it's not that it's falling out of the language, it's just that it's maybe getting a little bit less common in spoken English, I would say. That's generally how it's used. Sometimes we'll use other prepositions like by whom. By whom. Again, it's not common to say that. It's technically grammatically correct, right? By whom was it written is a technically grammatically correct sentence. By whom? By whom was this written? By whom was this written? That is something called the passive voice. But most people will say, who wrote this? Who wrote this? Who wrote this? So when we want to use passive voice, we could use whom instead of who. But usually we encourage people to use active voice, especially when they're writing, to make their writing sound more active and interesting. An example of passive and active voice would be, Tom turned the TV off. Okay, that would be active voice. Tom is the subject, turned is the verb, and the TV is the object of the subject of the verb, and off is what happened to the TV. It's actually an adverb. Okay, Tom turned the TV off. The TV was turned off by Tom. The TV was turned off by Tom. This one is the opposite. We start with the object of the sentence, the thing that's getting the action, the TV, and then we put the actual subject at the end, by, okay? This is another way of putting it. Why would we do this? Why would we want to say the TV was turned off by Tom? Well, sometimes we're focused on the TV. If we do that, we'll probably just take Tom out. The TV was turned off last night. And then we'll find out who did it, maybe. But sometimes we'll just take that part off. Just remove it. We'll leave it because we don't need to know. It doesn't matter. The bank was robbed last night. The bank was robbed last night. Now we could say, by 3 men in black masks. We could add that. By 3 men in black masks. Often, if it doesn't matter, if we're focused on the bank, then we'll say, the bank was robbed last night. The bank is the object of the verb. The verb is robbed. Okay. That's why we use passive voice. Generally speaking, when we want to put emphasis or focus on the object of the action, not the subject. Now, if the story is about the 3 masked men, then we'll say 3 masked men robbed a bank last night. Okay, that makes sense. But it depends on what our focus is. If we don't care about the 3 masked men, then instead we are going to say the bank was robbed by 3 masked men. That's how it works. That's how it's usually used. A lot of people get confused with the active and passive thing, but that's generally speaking, that's it. You just flip it around. Luke kicked the ball was kicked by Luke. Luke kicked the ball was kicked by Luke. Would we ever say the ball was kicked by Luke? Probably not, unless it's a story about a ball. Probably won't say that. But you could, it's grammatically correct. It's just, if you put it that way, called passive voice. Passive voice. Hopefully that's clear. Oh, thanks guys for hitting the like button. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Would you explain bear and bear? Yeah, B-E-A-R is the animal, and B-A-R-E means something is removed from something, or, for example, someone's naked, or there's something taken off of it. The dictionary definition. Let me, where's my dictionary? B-A-R-E. So if someone is, for example, bare naked, that means they have no clothes on. Something is taken off of them. Something is removed. There's no covering. That's B-A-R-E. B-A-R-E can also be used as a verb, by the way. B-A-R-E. Not clothed, not covered, without the appropriate usual or natural covering. Without appropriate, yeah, basically what I said. Verb, uncover. There you go. Yeah. B-A-R-E. To bear all is to either physically, literally, or emotionally remove something, right? To expose yourself, to bear all. That could be in an interview where you tell the interviewer about your whole life, even your most embarrassing stories, or it can mean you take your clothes off and you're totally naked. Either one of those, bear all could be right. But B-E-A-R is the animal, the one that growls and likes to eat blueberries. CCBB. Well, thank you very much. CCBB, are you the one who wants me to believe in God? I think so. Do we refer to big organizations like a company or a country as a singular or plural noun? Usually it's going to be a singular noun. Unless, so this is actually a good question. So Raymond asks, do we refer to big organizations like a company or a country as a singular or a plural noun? We have to be careful with this, but generally speaking, it will be singular. Because, just like we say, a group of people, when we have a bunch of things together, it can make up a thing, right? Because a group, one group, my group, it, the group, their team, its color is green, right? That is one thing, even though it is made up of more than one. That's generally how it works. These are called collective nouns. Group, family, team, right? There are many more. There are special ones for animals. Herd, school of fish. Okay, collective nouns, collective nouns. Now, an organization, a country, it is made up of many people that make up the population of the country, of course, right? But your body is made up of many cells. Your body is something that's always changing. You eat, you go to the bathroom, your hair falls out, it grows, you have boogers in your nose, your teeth fall out when you're a baby. You're never the same thing, right? But there is a thing that you define as your body, right? And it is a thing. It is one thing. It is not a group of things, even though it is made up of many things. We, to make life simpler, refer to many things as one thing, even if it is a collection, especially countries and companies. So, if we're talking about Google, we might say, Google today announced. Okay? Now, we could use it for Google when we talk about Google, its logo, for example, or we could use they. Now, they can be confusing because they is often something that we use to refer to several people, right? My 3 friends came to visit me yesterday from Portugal. They brought a lot of exotic fruit. Is there exotic fruit in Portugal? I don't know, but I could say that. Okay, now, We use they also for singular things. If we're not being specific, for example, about gender, we don't want to make it clear what kind of specific thing we're talking about, we might often use they. For companies too, we can use they. Google announced recently that they would build a website to help people find out which testing center they should go to. They. But when we're saying they there, we're not referring to all of the employees of Google working collectively together at Google. We're talking about the thing, the entity, the group, the team, all of Google, the company. So we refer to it as a single thing. But in a way, it is a collective noun. In a way, it's a collective noun. Although most people wouldn't even regard it or consider it as a collective noun because we just say it as a thing. And it actually has a legal status. A company has a legal status like an individual. Although I don't think companies take showers, but I could be wrong about that. I don't think they brush their hair every day. They might. Who knows? I don't know for sure. Now, countries are similar. We might say, today, Portugal announced that they would change their policy, right? The country, we wouldn't say countries, we would say the country has said. So whenever we refer to a country, a nation, a company, we use all things singular. And the agreement is the same way. For example, Portugal has. It's the same as if we say it. It has. Portugal has. It has. If we say they, as in plural people, more than one, then we say they have, right? They have. My 3 friends have, H-A-V-E, right? So we're referring to it as a singular thing, and we know that for sure because we're using has, or whatever it is that agrees with it, for example. It has. Or in this case, when we say they, we're referring to it as a singular, but not in the same way as 3 friends they have, okay? They found. Okay, that would work. All right, I hope that's not confusing. That's generally how we refer to companies. That's how we refer to countries. And that's how we refer to collective nouns as new single things. Hopefully that's clear. But by the way, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, guys. Please, and thank you. And subscribe. And also check out my courses in the links in the description. There's a big sale going on right now. If you want the discount code for that sale, check in the description. I think it's there. If it's not there, that means the sale is over. Oops, sorry. Sorry. Okay, see if I missed any more questions. I hope I answered your question. Police or polices? Police, uncountable. Good morning there and good night here. Have a good day. Bye. Okay, bye. Luke, can you explain using different kinds of exclamations as huh, phew, and so on? Okay. Sure. So, Sleepwalker says, Luke, can you explain using different kinds of exclamations as huh, phew, and so on? I hope you don't mean and so on as an exclamation, because it isn't one. These things are called interjections. Interjections are very short expressions that could be one word or 2 words. Sometimes it's a phrase, often ending in an exclamation point. I suppose not always. They express a feeling, they express a reaction, and there are many of them. So if you really want to know them, you can just go onto the internet and search list of interjections. But they express different things like pain, for example. If you feel a pain, you say, ow, ooh, ow. And that actually has a specific spelling. O-W, exclamation, ow. Or sometimes O-U-C-H, exclamation. Sometimes that's hard for me to say. Exclamation, O-U-C-H, ouch, ooh, ouch, ouch, ouch. Okay. Now what about surprise? Huh? H-U-H, exclamation, or sometimes exclamation question mark together, or sometimes just question mark. Huh? Huh? What? Wow. Really? That could be considered an interjection too, because it's expressing a feeling of surprise, even though that's a longer word. Okay, that's a common one. Other sounds, shock, surprise, we have many, many, many for these. For example, if you feel relief. Relief is when you thought something bad was going to happen and it either ends or it doesn't happen. You go, whew, whew. That is WHEW, I believe is how that's spelled. And that it expresses your relief. Relief. Relaxation is A-H, A-H, ah. If you're curious about something and you're interested, it might be ooh, ooh. That's a new and interesting thing. Ooh. If you're thinking about something, So these short expressions, and again, you can just search list of English interjections. You'll find a huge list of them that you can learn. Note that they do have specific spellings. I sometimes forget the specific spellings because they are more sound-like. Like, whew, I always forget how that one is spelled. But generally speaking, they have standard spellings, and once you learn them, they're easy. You can make whatever sounds you want when you have these expressions, fear or whatever it might be, but you have to know how they're spelled if you're going to write them down, for example, in a text message to your English-speaking friends, or when you're reading so that you know what emotion this person is experiencing. You're reading a novel, and one of the characters in the novel says, for example, yow! Well, what is that expressing? Well, yow is probably expressing surprise or sometimes pain. Yow! Right? And there are, again, tons and tons and tons of these interjections. Okay? Okay. So it's pretty simple. I hope that answers your question, Sleepwalker. Sleepwalker, a lot of good questions today. There is some more stuff I want to get to, though, guys. If you don't mind, I'm going to have another sip of coffee, and then I'm going to talk about some more stuff. Seems like we do have a smaller group today, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, give me 1 second. Ooh, someone has asked to join the Facebook group. Yeah, if you guys want to join the Facebook group, just go to the link and I will approve you after the live class. There are some more things I want to talk about. All right, moving on. So I want to talk a little bit about dislikes and likes. We'll talk about them as sort of two different sections, okay? Yeah, you're welcome, Sleepwalker. My pleasure. So there are many ways to talk about things that we like. There are many ways to talk about things that we do not like. And I want to talk about especially things that we don't like, things that we hate. We should learn this, right? We have to learn about different ways to describe things we don't like because there are many things we don't like. Sometimes you're connecting with a friend. You might share something in common, something you don't like. Or maybe you just want to let somebody know that you have a preference not to do that thing or not to have that thing or whatever it might be. We need to know how to express dislikes. Don't call me negative. I'm not negative. I'm not a negative person, but we do need to know this stuff. So let's just talk about some simple phrases that we can use to talk about things we hate. Okay, first, I can't stand it, and it's the worst. I can't stand it, and it's the worst. Now, these are a little bit different. One is an exaggeration. One might be an exaggeration. If you say, I can't stand it, stand here means tolerate. So if you know the word tolerate, if you can tolerate something, it means that you can accept something being there even if you don't really like it. Okay, it's okay. I can stand it. If there's a situation at your job, right, and you don't like the situation at your job, but you're willing to allow it to be there and you're not going to quit, you can say, I can stand it. I can tolerate it. I can deal with it. But that doesn't mean you're happy about it. If you can't, if it's worse than that, if you really hate it and it might even cause you to leave your job, then you might say, I can't stand it. Now, we could add to that when we want to talk about the thing we want to say, we would add when. I can't stand it when someone rings my doorbell and then I hit the intercom button and say, yes, who's there? And nobody says anything. I can't stand it when that happens. I can't stand it when I make a cup of coffee and I forget that I made it, and then by the time I get to it, it's cold. I can't stand it. Okay, that's something I can't stand. That means I really, really don't like it. Now, it's subjective, right? So there's no right or wrong answer to when you can use it and when you can't. Use it whenever you want to. It's a very useful phrase. How about it's the worst? Again, very useful. Nobody can tell you when you can and can't use it. Generally speaking, it just expresses the idea that this is very bad. Oh my God. When you make a cup of coffee and then it gets cold, by the time you remember you made it, that's the worst. That's the worst. Or biting into ice cream after you've had a hot meal and then your teeth are so painful. That's the worst. That's the worst. Okay? These are two common, strong expressions to describe things that we hate. I can't stand it, and it's the worst. Okay. Now, what about this one? It sucks, it blows, it's awful. Okay. Now, these have to be distinguished. We hear all the time, it sucks, it blows. Now, actually, I would say it blows is more rude than it sucks. Well, that really blows. I say it here. You could put anything there, anything there. Working overtime really sucks. Working overtime blows. Working overtime is awful. All of these generally have the same meaning, but there's a different connotation. When someone tells you that they don't like something or something bad happened to them, you know what happened today? Oh, my God. My boss told me that I had to work an extra shift. You know what happened today? We had an extra assignment given to us. Oh, my God. To sympathize with someone, when we want to say, oh, I know how you feel, that's a terrible thing, we would say, oh, that sucks. Or that must suck, right? That sucks. That must really suck. That must suck or that sucks. But we wouldn't say, oh, that blows. Probably not. Blows is definitely more rude than that sucks. And we wouldn't use that one to say that we want to sympathize with someone. That one is specifically, that blows, rude and really strong, and usually for things that we want to describe about ourselves and things that happen in our own lives. So they have a different feeling for sure. That sucks is definitely more common. And by the way, we can use that sucks, or sucks rather, when we talk about our own skill. I suck at tennis. I suck, not sucks, I suck at tennis. I suck at tennis. I suck at golf. I suck at managing people, whatever it is. We usually wouldn't say blow there, just suck, okay? That just means I'm not good at that. Doesn't mean I hate it. It means I'm not good at it, okay? How about that's awful? It's awful. What's awful? Oh, it's awful when you plan a vacation and then it gets canceled, or you miss your flight. That's awful. It's awful when you missed your flight. That's the worst thing ever, missing your flight. When you want to sympathize with someone and show them that I feel bad for you, you know, you missed your flight, you say, oh, that's awful. That's awful. So you can use that's awful in the same way that you would use, oh, that sucks, to show someone that you feel their pain a little bit, to show a little bit of sympathy. Very common, okay? So these three phrases, that it sucks, that it blows, that's it's awful, or that's awful, okay? Really, really common. All right, now what about these? These are the last ones. It drives me nuts and it drives me crazy. Now, these are used for irritation. Irritation. Irritation means something makes us feel uncomfortable. Something makes us feel frustrated. Something makes us feel annoyed. So to be clear, this is not just something that we hate. It's a specific type of something that we hate. A specific type of thing that we don't like. Something that irritates us, annoys us, okay? For example, when someone throws their trash on the ground and doesn't pick it up, if you do that, I will get mad at you. I will be very angry. I might even walk over to you and say, hey, pick that up. What are you trying to make the world a dirty place? What's wrong with you? Pick it up. Sometimes I do that. I don't like it. I really don't like it. It drives me nuts. It drives me crazy when people throw their trash on the ground and don't even think about picking it up or taking care of their city. It drives me nuts. It drives me crazy. Okay? These are very, very common. Now, we could also say If we want to talk about our feeling of annoyance, we could say, it really gets on my nerves. It gets on my nerves. That's one I didn't put here, but we could absolutely use that one. It gets on my nerves. Or I hate it when people throw their trash on the ground. I hate it when people throw their trash on the ground. Okay? So that's very common. Again, a little bit different than just saying that you hate something. It's a special feeling of being annoyed, being bothered, whatever it may be. Now, if you have a special thing that annoys you that may not bother other people, we would say probably pet peeve. My pet peeve. What's your pet peeve? Well, there's a classic one from a TV show called Seinfeld. There's a character who has one pet peeve. When people do this, she could say, it drives me crazy when people make that sound after taking a sip of coffee. It drives me nuts when people make that sound after taking a sip of coffee. I hate it when people make that sound after taking a sip of coffee. That's my pet peeve. Pet peeve. P-E-T-P-E-E-V-E. Pet peeve. Okay. Now, pet peeves are usually specialized. Doesn't annoy everybody. Special for each person. So those are some ways that we can talk about things that we don't like, things that bother us. All very, very common. Now go out there and complain. Okay. So we're going to talk in a second about things that we like, but I want to answer any other questions that came up. Why some people use if it were rather than if it was. Which one is correct? Let me see if I understand this one. Why some people use if it were rather than if it was. Okay, this is called the subjunctive mood. Now, the subjunctive mood is when we use a special type of tense where we don't let the subject and the verb agree with each other because we want to create a certain impression, and it's often for unreal things, right? If he goes there, I suggest that he wear his uniform. Now, usually if you have he, then you'll put he with wears, right? But if we put it after I suggest that he wear, or I recommend that he do, I recommend that he do his homework first, I suggest that he wear his uniform if he goes there, that one right after the subject, the verb right after the subject, when we want to create this thing that's outside of time, which is kind of not real, in a way in our mind, kind of hypothetical. This is called the subjunctive mood. When we say, if I were you, I would. If I were you. Okay, but wait a second. I were. I thought for subject-verb agreement, we should say I was, right? Subject-verb agreement. I was, she was, you were, they were, we were, it was, right? Right? Well, in this case, when we are using the subjunctive mood, don't worry about what it's called, we're creating a hypothetical. A hypothetical is an imaginary thing. When we're doing this, we are removing the rule of subject-verb agreement. In this case, for this special type of hypothetical, often with if, which is called a conditional, often with if, we are going to remove this to make it clear that it's not real, that it's imaginary, that it is hypothetical, okay? For example, if I were president, I would give everyone $10,000 a month to live, and no one would have to have a job. Ha ha ha. Right? That's stupid. But we could say, if I were. I'm not. It's imaginary. It's hypothetical. If I were living in Arizona, I would maybe buy a house near Phoenix, whatever it might be. That's not even a good place to live. Maybe it is. I don't know. But that would be an example. If I were living in Arizona, I would buy it. That means I already have a house. All right, my example is stupid, but you get the idea, right? We're creating an imaginary situation. If I were living in the time of the dinosaurs, I would follow the brontosauruses around and watch their behavior and then come back and write a book about it. Okay. That's a silly example too, but the point is I were instead of I was. Okay, we're removing it from time. That's the reason. Normally we use I was in the past. For example, I was so sleepy yesterday. I was so sleepy yesterday because it really happened in the past. That's how I felt yesterday. How did I feel? Sleepy. So we're not imagining anything. It's real, okay? When we're using the imaginary form, the hypothetical, conditional. Conditional is when we use if, by the way. That's what a conditional is, when we use if in the sentence. When we are making an announcement, a suggestion, a command, we often change it so that it's clear that, hey, this didn't happen in the past really. This is not really happening. Let's remove it from time and just keep it sort of floating around in our imaginations. The subjunctive mood. Again, don't worry about what it's called, but that's how to use it. That's how to use it. Okay? Hopefully that's clear. If you haven't already, guys, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe. And also, don't forget to check out my courses in the links in the description. 20-year-old men versus 20 years old man. Neither of those are correct. I'm stretching my back here. Hope you don't mind. Neither are correct. 20-year-old man is closer to correct, but you need to use hyphens. You have to put 20-year-old man with hyphens in between. And you probably put or the in front of that. A 20-year-old man. The 20-year-old man. But it's not years. Okay, but you have to have the hyphens. Otherwise, it's not, it's not correct. It's not correct. All right. What else we got? Oh yeah, I said we're going to talk about what we like, right? Got to talk about a couple more things. All right. Let's talk about what we like. So we talked about what we hate. Now we need to talk about what we like. So before, we mentioned some phrases we can use to talk about things that we strongly dislike, things that we hate. It is only fair, then, that we also talk about some phrases we can use to talk about things that we like. Because, well, when there's a negative, there should be a positive to balance it, right? If there's a yin, there must be a yang to balance it. Yin, yang, positive, negative. The universe must be balanced. And so, to balance our dark and negative small lesson about talking about things that we hate and things that annoy us, now we have to talk about things that we like, things we enjoy, things that are good. And these phrases are pretty simple, easy to learn. Okay? Very, very simple to learn. Describing what you like. So, what can we use? Now, a simple way to talk about likes is to say, I'm crazy about that. Most people know that. Or, I'm all about it. Now, this is definitely, we could say, a young person's phrase. I wouldn't hear my grandma say, oh, I'm all about that, right? She would probably not say it. She probably wouldn't say, I'm crazy about that either. She would probably say, oh, I like it so much. She would use the simple phrase probably. Or, oh, that's so nice. She would say, that's so nice, or I really like that. But I'm assuming that you guys already know those. That's so nice. I like it so much, right? I'm assuming that you guys, if you understand what I'm saying, you already know the basic phrases, the basic expressions to talk about what you like and what you dislike. I like it. I don't like it. Of course, you can use those. I like it. I don't like it. I like it. I don't like it. But we need to get a feeling for some other expressions too, because other expressions are useful. I'm all about what? What are you all about? What are you interested in? I'm all about Diablo 3. That's a video game, right? I'm all about Diablo 3. That means you really like Diablo 3. That means that's a game you really enjoy. The first game that came to my mind. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. All about what? Scuba diving? Scuba diving. I went scuba diving for the first time on my vacation, and now I'm definitely going to get my license. Absolutely. I'm all about it. I am crazy about it. I love it. Okay? Crazy about it, love it, all about it. All of those phrases are very, very common. No problem. What about this? I'm into it. I dig it. Now, these look the same, look very similar, but they're not. They're not the same. Okay? I'm into something means that's your interest. Okay? And maybe that's something that's just there right now. It could be a musician, a band, a TV show, a hobby, whatever, any kind of thing. These days, I'm really into reading comic books. You know, I'm really into the Beatles. Maybe it's a band you like. I'm really into playing Diablo 3 these days. I've been really into podcasts recently. Recently, I'm really into reading nonfiction, especially books by Carl Jung. Okay, I'm into it. So anytime you want to talk about what you like, your interests, probably the most common way that people in my generation, a little older, a little younger, talk about it is using I'm into something. But I dig it is definitely older. That one feels like popular in the 1970s and 80s. I sometimes say, I dig it. I dig it. It means I like it. Okay? It doesn't mean I'm digging a hole. It means I really like it. But it's kind of out of fashion. I say it now kind of just to be a bit ironic, to be a little bit funny. And it was more popular in maybe the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I dig it. And some people say, I really dig, a certain type of music. I really dig Led Zeppelin, man. I really dig Led Zeppelin. Now you won't hear that so much. Sometimes you still will, but definitely not as popular as, for example, I'm into something, whatever it may be. All right. So that's basically it, but we do have one more set to talk about very quickly. And that is that something is mind-blowing. Now, I want to be clear what mind-blowing means. Mind-blowing is not to talk about your interests, usually. If you say, I'm really interested in playing Diablo 3 or World of Warcraft, it's so mind-blowing. Probably not. Well, I suppose you could say that, but what you're saying there, if you say it's mind-blowing, is not that you like it, but that somehow it's so amazing that you can't believe it. If something is mind-blowing, it is so amazing that you really can't believe it. It's something that's beyond your ability to imagine. It's something that when you experience it, it's almost too much for you to handle. Now, that might be a slight exaggeration, I suppose. But, generally speaking, we'll say things are mind-blowing when we experience something that is far beyond our ordinary experience. For example, recently, I went to the film Joker. Actually, that wasn't that recently. When I walked out, I thought to myself, that film was mind-blowing. That was a mind-blowing film. So you can use it before or after. That film was mind-blowing. That was a mind-blowing film. What a mind-blowing movie. Now, that means I think that movie, Joker, is totally amazing. It's not a normal movie. When I walk out of a movie normally, I say, well, it was pretty good, or I don't know, could have been better, right? But if I walk out of a movie and say, that movie blew my mind, if we want to use it as a verb, we'll say, that blew my mind, or that was mind-blowing as an adjective, or what a mind-blowing movie. That means it's far beyond a normal, okay? That's the idea. And it's pretty common. Again, I don't think my grandma would say, it's so mind-blowing, popcorn. Probably not. So we have to have some context, right? But that's the idea, okay? That's the idea. It's the best is okay. You can say, oh, my mom's cookies are the best. My mom's cookies really are the best. When you want to describe something that's kind of a special interest, especially food or a restaurant or a drink, coffee, or some specialized thing like that, some store that you really like. Ooh, that store, I love that store. They have everything that you need. Maybe it's really nice atmosphere. It's the best. It's the best. Again, that's generally younger generation phrasing, but it's pretty common. It's very common, okay? My mother's cookies are the best. The best. Danny's Pizza. It's a pizza place down the street from where I live. It's the best. It's the best, okay? Very, very common to talk about things that you like. Food, shops, drinks. Could you talk about people you like? She's the best. You could. I suppose it's a little less common, but you could. I think you could. Okay, and the last one is it's dope, it's sick, and it's awesome. Now, I will use it's awesome a lot more than I will use dope and sick. Dope and sick might be more, I suppose 10 years ago, but some people still use it today. It was popular for a while. Now it's not popular anymore. Dope and sick just seems a little bit odd to me now. I sometimes say, oh, that's dope, just to be kind of funny, almost to be ironic. That's so dope. Or these cookies are so dope. It sounds kind of funny. It makes me laugh, so it must not be that normal. And sometimes we'll hear people say, oh, that's sick, man. That's so sick. I'm not necessarily recommending that you say that, but if you ever hear someone say, that is so sick, they're not talking about someone who has a disease. They're talking about something being awesome or great, okay, or totally cool. So just to be clear about that, they have the same meaning. All of those have the same meaning. Dope, sick, awesome. I by far say awesome more than the other two. In fact, I rarely say the other two at all. So hopefully that's clear. If you want something to say and you're not sure what to say, probably just go with, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Again, my grandma doesn't say awesome, but a lot of people my age, a little older and a little younger, do. Very, very common. Okay. By the way, guys, don't forget to hit the like button. It's the thumb one that goes up like this. And also, don't forget to subscribe to see future videos and also future live streams. And also, don't forget to what was I going to say? Don't forget to check out my courses in the links in the description. Yes, of course. All right, that's it. That's it. Hey, Lolly Lolly's here. Wow, great. Great. Just as we're getting ready to finish. So sorry. Lolly Lolly says, yes, I am late. Our president was talking about precautions. That's good. So Lolly Lolly, is everything pretty closed down right now? Are you being asked to stay inside? Stuff like that? As far as I know, France is in danger. Stay safe out there, girl. Yeah, stay safe. Everybody stay safe. Stay safe. Stay safe. Take precautions, for sure. There is one more thing I wanted to talk about, guys. Not very quarantine, but we will have to stay at home. Yeah, stay at home. Get a mask. Take care of yourselves. Guys, I don't have that much time, but I do have one more topic I'd like to talk about, if that's okay with you. If you don't mind, I have another topic, and we're going to finish up for today, because I've got a meeting in a bit, or a phone call, something. Hold on a second. Let me send a text message. Just 1 second. Okay. I am sorry I hate to have you guys just sit here and watch me send text messages, but the person I was supposed to have a meeting with wanted to have the meeting even earlier. I mean, what's the point of having schedules unless you keep it, right? All right. The last thing I want to talk about with you guys today is exaggeration. Okay? So exaggeration is a very important part of English. What is exaggeration? Well, very simply, exaggeration is when you stretch the truth. You say something that you don't really mean, or you say something in an extreme way, but the real meaning is much, 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 much less. Now, don't worry. We're going to talk about some really common examples. The examples that we look at are ones that you hear people say. Why would we exaggerate? Well, it just means, by the way, exaggerate is the verb form. Why would we exaggerate? It's a way to have an interesting expression, to say something in a way that is not just exactly what we mean, but requires the other person to think for a second, or maybe is slightly entertaining, sometimes funny. Sometimes people just like to do that. I definitely exaggerate a lot. We could say someone who exaggerates a lot is a bit sarcastic. Now, sarcasm is a very important part of American humor. It's a very important part of British humor, and exaggeration is definitely a key part of that. It's the idea of stretching the truth. It's the idea of bending the truth for a certain purpose, usually not in a negative way, usually not in a way that's meant to mislead someone. People know exactly what you mean, but sometimes we can use it also to express our emotions. For example, if someone says, "Oh God, I've been waiting forever." Forever? Really? Have you been waiting forever? Because forever is a time that has no limit. That's not even possible. What do you mean you've been waiting forever? Actually, it's just an expression to emphasize that I'm a little annoyed that you made me wait so long. Maybe you made me wait 20 minutes. I thought I was going to wait for 3 minutes, but you made me wait 20 minutes. So I say forever. I was waiting forever. Now you really feel my frustration about me needing to wait for you, right? If I just said, I waited for 20 minutes, you might not feel it, right? That would be a very accurate expression, a very accurate description, but would it get the idea across as well as, I was waiting forever? You might say, oh, shut up. I mean, come on. It wasn't forever. 15 minutes. It was 20 minutes. Oh, sorry, right? It just helps to emphasize that emotional feeling, okay? So let's talk about some common examples of exaggeration in especially American English. American English. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I'm starving to death. I'm starving to death. I was dying laughing or dying of laughter. I could eat a horse. I could eat a horse. I've been waiting forever. Now let's talk about these. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. If someone says, I'm going to kill you, what they mean is, I'm angry at you. But sometimes it doesn't exactly mean that they're angry at you. Sometimes it's sort of a joking anger. You'll see this in a lot of TV shows and movies. I'm going to kill you. Ha 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 ha. And then they laugh. So that means they're being sarcastic. They're maybe a little angry with what the other person did, whatever it might have been, maybe a prank, for example. And it's a funny thing that happened between them. And so they will say this as a sort of a joking expression between them to kind of actually express friendship in a way. Now, sometimes it could be more serious. And you'll see this in movies and TV shows as well. Somebody does something cruel to somebody else. Somebody does something like break a promise to someone else. They said they were going to be there. They're not there. The other person says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Or if I was supposed to be somewhere and I lied, right? I told my wife that I'm going to be somewhere else. And then she catches me somewhere else where I said I wasn't going to be, maybe somewhere I'm not supposed to be. You see this in movies all the time. Oh, my wife's going to kill me. My wife's going to kill me. An expression of fear about what consequences might come after. I'm starving to death? What? Really? You're that hungry? You're so hungry that you're starving to death? Starving by itself is an exaggeration because that means you're dying. Starving to death is even more of an exaggeration, and it's just a common expression to mean I'm very, very hungry. Oh, I'm starving. I'm so hungry. I'm starving. We also say I was dying laughing or I'm dying laughing. Or sometimes people just say, I'm dying. I'm dying. Nobody's really dying, obviously. It's just an expression to show how hard you're laughing, how hilarious it is, how funny it is. And when we talk about it later, we say, oh, that's such a funny story. I was dying. You'll hear people say that. I was dying. I was dying. It means I was laughing a lot. Whatever happened was hilarious, okay? You'll also hear people say if they're very hungry, I could eat a horse. That's a common expression. I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse. I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse. Now, it's very unlikely that someone would even try to eat a horse. What does that even mean, eat a horse? Crazy. Sometimes people will say eat an elephant. Usually the expression is I could eat a horse. It just means I'm so hungry. Maybe I haven't eaten in 7 hours. I'm really hungry. I want to eat something. I could eat a horse. Common expression, common exaggeration. And then the last one of these, as I mentioned before, I've been waiting forever. I've been waiting forever. It's not real. Obviously, it's not possible. It's not possible. That means you would be there at the beginning of the Big Bang. already waiting, looking at your watch as the universe explodes, and the universe dies and reaches maximum entropy and is cold in 100 billion years, and you're still looking at your watch. That's what that would be. Not possible. It's not possible. Okay, but that's the idea. We stretch it. We exaggerate. One more of these I want to look at. I have a million things to do. You're as skinny as a toothpick. It's literally the best thing ever. I'm losing my mind. You're dead to me, and my life is over. My life is over. Okay, so all of these, again, really, really common. If someone says, I have a million things to do, do you think they really have a million things to do? If they have their to-do list, how long would that list be? Here's a question to those of you who are good at math. How long would a list have to be on paper if it were a million things? If I had a million items on the list, each written in one line on my lined paper, how long would the list be? There's a math question for you. I'd like to know the answer to that. I have a million things to do is an exaggeration to mean, gosh, I'm so busy. I don't have time. I have so much to do. I feel stressed because I'm so busy. A million things to do. You're as skinny as a toothpick. As skinny as a toothpick. Is someone actually as skinny as a toothpick? Obviously not, right? Someone who is as skinny as a toothpick is just very, very thin. Maybe thinner than what is healthy. Someone lost weight and a friend comments, oh my God, you lost so much weight. You're as skinny as a toothpick. That could mean that they're very thin, or it could mean they're just a lot thinner than before, and I want to recognize it or acknowledge it. Toothpick is a thing that you use to pick your teeth. Okay. How about literally the best? This is one that I don't use very often. I don't really like it. It's literally the best thing ever. Now, is it literally the best thing ever? Well, how do you judge what's the best thing that's ever happened to you in your entire life? That's tough. But we say literally to usually mean it actually is. When we add literally to something, which is a very common expression these days in American English, we mean, yeah, that's what I really mean. I really mean that. So, but it still doesn't really mean that. So we add it to emphasize it even more. But it still isn't actually the best thing ever, because maybe tomorrow you'll say it again and the next day you'll say it again. Do you mean it each time? Really? Day after day? No. Probably not. If someone says this is literally the best, it's the best thing I've ever done, it's just an expression. It's an exaggeration. It's an exaggeration. I'm losing my mind is kind of like I'm very busy, or something crazy is happening, or I'm very stressed, or something bad is going on in my life, and I don't know how to handle it. I'm losing my mind. I'm absolutely losing my mind these days. And if someone says, you're dead to me, this one could be a joke or not. Sometimes when something bad happens between friends, they have it's called a falling out. They lose touch. One friend, cheats on another friend's boyfriend or something like that. Whichever way it is. And the other person finds out. A horrible betrayal of their friendship. The other person says, you're dead to me. And they mean it. Now, it doesn't mean they actually are dead, but to me, as though you're dead, I will no longer recognize you. We're not friends anymore. Stay away from me. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't email me. Our friendship is over. You're dead to me. That's an expression. It could be very serious. However, it could also be used sort of jokingly, humorously, as a funny thing. You're dead to me. If you don't like the Beatles, oh my God, you're dead to me. That means I can't understand how someone could not like the Beatles, right? Because you don't, now I don't want to be friends with you. But not really. It's just an expression. So it could be used really either way. Either way. Last one. My life is over. My life is over. Again, for this one, it could be used in a serious way or not. One time, a girl on an airplane was screaming and crying, and she had just had some horrible thing happen in her life. A fashion show she was running had a horrible disaster. Something terrible happened, and it was basically the end of her career. But the plane had taken off, and she was crying and sat down next to me. And many times she said, my life is over, my life is over, my life is over. obviously that's very sad. When she said it, she meant it. Not as though she was going to die, but that her professional life was over is what she really meant. But people use this one in a lot more mild situations too. It says, oh, something annoying happens, my life is over. My life is over. It could be used in a very sort of slightly bad situation that is pretty common. Fairly common situation that's not so bad. Not like an actual career-ending thing. So there's a lot of flexibility in all of these exaggeration expressions. People use them in many different ways. It's definitely important to know them. So learn them, know them, use them. They're all really common, and look out for them in movies and TV shows. Hope all of those are clear. And if you haven't already, make sure, I would appreciate it if you could hit the like button, subscribe, and check out my courses in the links in the description. Okay. See, we have a conversation going on about nurses. Lolly Lolly, stay safe over there. And Gertie, and Sleepwalker, and Milton. Who's a nurse? Who's a nurse? Lolly Lolly, I am a mental health nurse. Milton. Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. That's a very important job. Wow. Awesome. That's awesome. That is very cool. Well, I hope everybody stays safe. I got to run, guys. Normally, I would hang out longer and answer more questions. I know I kind of rushed through my topics at the end there, but I do really have to go. I've got a meeting. But I really hope you guys can hang out for the next one. For the next one, we'll try to take a little more time. Thanks for joining yesterday and today. If you do have any other questions, just comment in the Facebook group, and I'll try to answer them. And I'll be posting a clip there later today. You can subscribe to both channels if you like. If you want to check out the clips, if you don't have time to watch the full live lessons, right? Sometimes people don't have time. I'm posting sections from it based on you guys' questions and the topics I do on the other channel, which you can see in the recommended and also in the description here at the bottom. And subscribe to this channel too if you haven't already. Yeah, that's good, Lolly Lolly. Not everybody likes their job. It's very, very good to hear. Actually, it sounds similar to what my mother does. My mother is a mental health counselor. That's her job. She helps people who have mental health issues, drug addiction, and so on. Sounds like it might be similar. All right, guys, I got to run. I will see you in the next one. Definitely do one either Sunday or Monday, but probably on Sunday. All right, guys? Take care. Have a good one. Be safe. And I'll see you later.